Australia. Then to a Canadian Broadcasting Corporation announcer who's reading letters sent by listeners to be shared over the air to family living beyond mail delivery in the country's far north. In the morning, I see written down on the legal pad by the radio the frequencies my father frequented after I went to sleep. 10 o'clock, 11,450, Radio Berlin International. 10:20, 11,825, New Zealand? 10:45, 15,165, The Voice of the Andes, Quito, Ecuador. I put a world map up on my wood-paneled wall and stick flag pins in the capitals of countries I've heard. More important, I get a copy of the World Radio Handbook. This holds something crucial about stations: their addresses. Shortwave listeners send reception reports to stations, giving the date, time, frequency, the program heard, and how strong the signal was. This is useful to stations. In return, they send postcard-sized confirmations to listeners, called QSL cards. Shortwave buffs cherish their collections, especially cards from hard-to-hear stations. I already collect coins and stamps, but QSL cards come with an added lure: getting stuff in the mail. I begin mailing out reception reports. Long weeks pass. Then the first QSL arrives. It's in an envelope that also has a station decal. Cool. More drift in, accompanied by maps, brochures, station schedules, flags. I've barely gotten a letter in my life, but now I'm getting nearly as much mail as my parents. Radio Peking sends me a medallion engraved with the head of China's ruler Mao Zedong. We get Christmas cards that year from radio stations in Indonesia, East Germany, Argentina. On TV, everyone is white and either riding a horse or living happily in the suburbs. There are only 3 national television networks, all similar. But the shortwave opens windows onto hundreds of different cultures. I listen to programs devoted to Caribbean music, the cricket scene in India, saunas in Finland. I like to stay up late at night and listen to Arabic music, which arrives in waves from the other side of the globe. No such music can be heard on KRLA or the other stations Los Angeles listens to. Shortwave stations broadcast in many languages, but I only speak English. What are you hearing if you don't know the meaning of the words? Their music. French flows like water. Russian sounds like a train wreck of consonants. I often have no idea what language I'm hearing, but keep listening for a while just for the pleasure of the sound. I like Santa Monica. I enjoy school. I'm funny, popular, and the next year will be elected the president of my grammar school. But the shortwave reveals a need for novelty and variety that I didn't know I had. I like leaping over Santa Monica's borders and listening in on life in places I've never seen. In a few years, I'll want to do more than just listen. Most countries have a government-sponsored shortwave station. The United States' station is called the Voice of America. I noticed that the news heard there sounds just like the news on AM radio and TV. But Radio Peking calls our armed forces fighting in Vietnam paper tigers and paints us as losing. Until then, I'd only heard positive news about our involvement in Vietnam. This jolts me. The newscasters in Havana praise Cuba's leader, Fidel Castro, who's allied with our enemies, the Russians. I've heard only bad things about both. But the announcers describe advances in agriculture and steeply rising literacy rates. Can this be true? The civil rights movement is in full swing, not only in the U.S. but in South Africa. There, Nelson Mandela has been sentenced to life imprisonment for fighting against segregation. On Radio South Africa, I hear programs describing how happy blacks are with their separate lives. The announcer's voice sounds caring and sincere. I'm older now and suspect he's lying. Kids lie as required, but adults are supposed to keep strictly to the truth. It's disturbing to witness. The red-flagged pins multiply on the world map. We buy a more powerful shortwave with an alluring array of needle.